What's up, Chess?
How are you feeling today?
Yo, feeling great, man.
What you wearing? Tell me about your outfit.
So I'm wearing, starting from the head, I got this Bape Durag. I got this Balenciaga glasses on. Then I got this Emporio Armani recycled shirt. And then I got a wife beater underneath. And then I got this Red Monkey Company raw denim from Japan jeans. Then I got some Martin Rose Sabot, some Crocs on it. Then my watch is Miyake and accessories and stuff. A Valentino bracelet, and that's what I got on, man.
Where do you pull inspiration from with your style?
Do you know what? Like basically, everything I wear, every piece I wear are pieces that I usually do some research on, and I have no like physical inspiration. I just go with the flow, with the vibe I'm trying to, give off maybe that day or some stuff. And yeah, like I just throw that in, just open my closet. I see I got some drip, and then just put it on,
So
just.
it's like what you're feeling, your mood.
Yeah, like if I want to be a little bit like more, let me say like classy or like more grown up, I just put, some grown up man clothes. If I want to feel most like street, and then if I want to be like more street and stuff, then I just
Mix
be a
it
little,
up.
yeah. I love mixing and matching, so.
So I heard you shoe developer for Balenciaga.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it all started, man, like when I was younger, like working on sneakers was my dream. Then when I finished graduating and I started venturing into like this fashion brands, how this fashion houses, I finally landed the job at Balenciaga as a sneaker developer, and I might say that's a cool job. Like you prepare, you work on collections with the designers, and then we always see like things a year prior to their release. Could be runway, could be any type of release. So yeah, it's a cool job. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I love it.
So you have a sneak peek.
I have a sneak peek. Obviously, I cannot leak it, cannot show anybody, but I have sneak peeks. Yeah.
Would you say you're in exactly the place you want to be in your career in terms of your passion and like you followed it to where you wanted it to go?
Do you know what? Like, the thing is, obviously, I don't feel like where I'm supposed to be in my career. Also, because I think I'm very very young. And if you had to tell me where I see myself in 5 years, I wouldn't tell you like where exactly I want to be. Because me personally, I always like to go with the flow with everything. Obviously, I have plans. I have specific tasks and objectives I want to accomplish and goals I want to reach. But the thing is that if you start setting up like what you want to do in the next 5 years and you focus on working on it, if eventually that thing doesn't come to pass, you might feel like, a little bit sad about it. You might feel like a little bit of delusion and stuff, like why? Like I set this goal, I couldn't reach it. But if you take everything like step by step, then you start seeing things a little bit differently. If you don't reach your goal in 5 years, but you've taken every minute to understand yourself more and to, learn more, you find out that you've grown more and you feel more satisfied than, just going into 5 years without accomplishing nothing because you thought you had to be there in that space of time.
Yeah, I
So.
think it's important to know when to take that pressure off of yourself.
Yeah, and like me personally, uh, that is one of the major issues I had like growing up, because as a firstborn, from an immigrant family based in Italy, you always had a lot of pressure. Like obviously you had to maybe work as twice because breaching into society is not as easy as someone who's born here, and of course you have like the pressure of not failing because are not waiting for you. Like people are ready to leave you behind. You feel me? So I feel like
So you grew up, you were born in Italy.
no, I was born in Lagos, Nigeria, and then I moved to Italy at the age of 2 because my father was here. He moved before my mom and I, and then when he was able to settle the documents and stuff for us to come, like the visa, then we pulled over, like we rejoined him, and then we started, living in Italy and stuff, and I grew up here though. Like I did primary school till high school and university as well. So I basically grew up here. Like I feel Italian, Also, I speak the language and stuff. So, and I've not had any, At first, it was difficult, like with the language and stuff. It was a little bit hard to enter into society. Also, because when you go back home, you feel more of the Nigerian culture, And when you're outside, you're filled with all this, Italian vibes, and everybody's like it's like a big contrast. But once you learn how to live with both, then I think that's the best thing, I feel glad I have this, dual culture thing with me, you know.
So you have you ever felt like you don't belong in Italy? Because I know a lot of children that come from immigrant parents and they've been raised in a country that is not their homeland. They often struggle with this feeling of not belonging. But then when they go back to their homeland, they still feel like they don't belong because it's just always like this disconnect.
Yeah. So to be honest, I think like when you are like I'm basically born in this society, I might say, I think this is more might be for my parents' side who came here at an age where they really lived like I might say a quarter of their lives in a different country, in a different setting, in a different culture, and then they moved here, and they might feel this, loneliness in society, or feeling left off some stuff, for example. But I never felt like I was not part of this because I always try to be part of it. I always try to make myself comfortable where I am, even though maybe the environment might not be suitable for me to be comfortable, but I never felt like I was left off. You know what I'm saying? Or I may say, yeah. Obviously, I felt like a stranger. At times, because definitely you feel like a stranger in a foreign country. You are a stranger in a foreign country.
Stop. Just a second.
You said something along the lines that even though at times you don't feel like belonging or something like that?
Yeah, like sometimes I don't feel outside like an outsider, you know, but I do feel like a stranger sometimes.
In
'Cause,
what way?
sometimes it comes to like way of behaving, for example, you know, language, culture. They're all things that show how different you are. There's a fly, man. So yeah, sometimes the fact that when you're with your parents you speak a different language while your friends are speaking a whole nother different language. That's like a concrete example to tell you that okay, like I'm a little bit different than you because I have my own type of I have my own language, you have yours. I have my own culture, you have yours. I have my own food, you have yours. But one thing I'm always grateful for, like for my parents, is that um, they never felt like outsiders. You know, they always tried to learn, especially like my mom. She always tried to learn like Italian cuisine, Italian culture. She prepares lasagna. She learned first thing she learned is like lasagna, how to prepare it, then different types of pasta, and then homemade pizza. Like she always like yo, like these Italians have good, like a good culture. I'm try and settle in. She was not like, yo, y'all too different. I'm gonna stick to my culture, to my own diet, to my own way of doing, and y'all gonna stay in your own lane. Because I feel like what's most important is that collaboration, working together, and blending. You know, blending into like different societies. If you're able to blend into different societies, that's when you're able to learn new things, and then expand your knowledge and stuff. That's very important, and that's how my family reacted to their moving over to a foreign country. So learning the language first thing off, then contributing to society through work, and going to uni, graduating, and that's why we don't feel like strangers, because we feel my dad loves this country, man. Like I'm telling you, like he loves this country. He always tells me like, yo, I'm gonna defend this country. If I had to defend it, I'm gonna defend this country because I came here, I worked here, worked my ass off, and I had a family here. So why would I join other people to say bad things about this country, So yeah, that's how we don't feel like strangers, you know what I'm saying?
I know you said that your roots are Nigerian. So how was your family life growing up in terms of that culture in your household?
So basically, like my family has a very rooted culture in the Nigerian, um, world, I might say. And growing up, obviously, you had like different things that made you feel home in Nigeria. For example, the language. Also, we had a lot of friends, local friends. And one thing with Nigerians is that they like to stick together. So you have these communities, and then when, for example, if you have a marriage, you see all the Nigerians all vibing together, and it feels like a little Nigeria sort of, and also at home.
It's a community.
Yeah, it's like a community, and also at home, obviously, my parents taught me stuff. That basically relies on Nigerian culture, for example. Also, I come from a Christian family, for example, so we're deeply rooted into like Christendom and stuff. And my parents grew me, my brother, my sister. We all grew up with this. I might say this. There's different aspects, So always trying to be nice to people while maintaining, a highly self-respect, respect others, love one another, love each other, And in terms of, I might say like Nigerian culture, that's more on the, like I was saying, like on the food and the diet aspect. But if I had to compare that with what's the Italian culture, I think the funny thing is that when you go home, you feel like you're in Nigeria, you know what I'm saying? When you go out, you feel like you're in Italy, you know what I'm saying? So you have literally that dual world, like where you feel some type of person when you're outside with your friends, when you play football with your friends, and then you have that type of vibe when you're home with your family, your relatives, your close friends who are from the same background as yours. But we're not very like, oh, we gotta maintain like this identity of Nigeria so strong, like we realize and we acknowledge where we are from. That's forever. And we're gonna, back it up, defend it, and keep going with it in the back of our head. We know like we're from there, but it's not that we're gonna set ourselves apart because we are strangers, and then we're gonna create, this intertwined community between only people who are, Nigerian or African or whatsoever. So I feel like that's a very positive aspect of, reaching into society, being able to maintain both your local background and your new environment, you know.
Yeah, I
So
love that because a lot of people that come from this duality,
yeah,
they feel like they need to choose one or the other to fit in, and then it becomes a very held in emotion of like anger, because they feel like they're betraying the one if they stick to the other, and it causes resentment. So I love that you mentioned blending. I think that's a beautiful word
yeah,
to sum it up. And I just wanted to ask, with being Nigerian, and you said you're the firstborn son, do you feel pressure?
yeah. Not just firstborn son, but firstborn nephew from my mama's side. My grandparent, my grandpa. I was his first nephew, but being a firstborn son, it's like you gotta pave the way for your siblings, for whoever comes after you. So it always comes with a lot of pressure. You feel like you have a lot of eyes around you. Seeing what you're gonna do next, and if what you're gonna do is, you know, gonna be something that is gonna pave the way for the newer generation. That's why I feel like I might not say like prove myself, because I don't think I have stuff to prove, but I gotta move in a way that whoever is watching me or whoever is like relying on me can have faith that they can do it too. So that's why high school, uni, I always try to keep that hunger in me. Also because I felt like, for what my parents did as well, coming to a foreign country, that I couldn't let the work like go in vain or be in vain. So I think like I had to, man up and then, you know, put it all on my shoulders and show them that yo like what you did for us is rewarding. That's why I I I I feel very like sad, not when my parents get mad at me, but when like they're disappointed. Like sometimes disappointment uh, weighs on me more than anger towards me, because I think that when you leave people down, like disappoint people, it hurts them more probably. And that's why every time my parents, they tell me like, oh, we're proud of you. That's rewarding, because that means that what I'm doing is paying off. What I'm doing is helping not just them, like they see me as you know a great son or whatever, but it also means that whoever's watching me, my siblings, my nephews, or whoever, can you know rely on me, rely on what I'm doing and see me as an example. I actually don't want to be seen as an example. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel like there's nobody in this world that should be seen as an example, because we're all humans and we all like make mistakes. So why should I be seen as an example? We all have flaws. But sometimes, people just watch you and they be like, I respect you for what you do. I want to try and do what you're doing. I want to try and be like you someday. But I don't agree with that statement that much. That's why I always tell everybody to be you instead. Don't follow nobody. And but yeah, as a firstborn, you obviously have like your siblings first off that are looking towards you, because they're gonna use you as a comparison on how to move and stuff. Some siblings don't care; they might just be their own and just do whatever they want to do. But yeah, I had that pressure on me. I still have. I still have the pressure of making it some way somehow. You know.
I think it's the expectations that kill a lot of us,
Yeah.
and it just adds on more pressure. And it's interesting because in the beginning you said you shouldn't have a 5-year plan because you shouldn't put that expectation on yourself because then when it's not met, it's disappointing.
Yeah. I feel, yeah,
And
that's,
it's now being done to you.
yeah, because they have expectations like, yo, by this, you got to do this, by this, you got to do that, by that, you got to do that. But, I don't think life is meant to put some checkpoints before so basically, like, how gaming works? So basically, like, you have to obviously complete a story mission or a storyline or whatever. But what happens that you go through the storyline and you have checkpoints, but the checkpoints, are some points you already like had like came across during the game. You know what I'm saying? So you cannot have checkpoints before you reach the part of the story in the future. So I don't understand why in life you have to like set checkpoints beyond your expectations. Like, yo, you gotta, I don't know, let's say married by 30. I've not been 30 yet. I'm just 20. What I can tell you though is that by age 16, I did this, and that's my checkpoint. By age 18, I did this, that's my checkpoint. But I can't say like by age 40, I have to have a kid because I've not been 40 yet.
Yeah, I think it's important to maybe have some vision,
Yeah,
but not to put the pressure on yourself
exactly.
in that way. And it's nice because to hear this, because I know a lot of men do put the pressure on themselves to be like millionaires by like 25
Yeah.
because of social media. We see that there's this quick, lifestyle that they're maintaining, but it's social media.
Sometimes for men it's inevitable because you always feel like you have to provide. So, sometimes, when you speak to some men, they be like, yo, I, I can't get a girlfriend right now because I'm not well stable financially. And I want to get a girl that I can give her everything, you know? And I'm just like, it's good because I believe you want to make your girl comfortable or you want to have a financially stable relationship or so ever. But I think like it ain't about that. It's not about that. It's about you know being you. Also in your lowest, if you're not ready financially, I don't think love comes based on what you have in your bank account. So I think that men probably do have or set some standards that are some of the times they're like, yo, I gotta have a Chevy, I have a Lambo by 25, I gotta make this by 30. But as I am, even though I do have this thing, that I have to do this or accomplish this um, for whoever, for my parents, for my siblings, for whoever, I gotta make it. I have this constantly in my mind, like I gotta make it, I gotta make it. I have this hunger, but at the same time, I'm fighting also with this thing that's telling me, look, take it slowly, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta chill out a little bit, because you've been going straight. Like you didn't have time for a break. You didn't have time, to chill out. You're always like hustling and shit. But I think it's the duality of. I'm not saying I'm not gonna say the duality of a man, but I might say my duality. Sort of. So
I think it's heavy is the head that weighs the crown,
yeah,
and I think the fight is listening to your parents' voice and your voice.
yeah,
Your
exactly,
voice is saying calm down, your parents are saying go, go, go.
exactly, yeah,
With that being said, going back to the way your parents pushed you to, you're the only son and the
yeah.
firstborn, and you have to keep the strength. Have you ever cried?
I used to be a crybaby. I used to be a crybaby like when I was around 12 and stuff. But I haven't cried ever since. You know, because basically I remember I was around 12 or something, and I used to be crying every now and then Also, when my parents were getting mad at me, I used to cry. Then my dad once told me like, listen, you gotta stop crying, man. Like, you're always crying. Like, have you ever seen me cry? I never seen my father cry ever, man. And he's a lovely dude, man. Like, he's very like emotional, you know? But I've never seen him cry. Even through like the toughest time, I never seen him cry, like never. So he was like, I never cry. You know why? Cause as the man of the house, you ain't got, or as a leader, you ain't gotta show like weaknesses. Cause the people who are following you gonna feel weak as well. You always gotta show like you're strong, like you can lead, you know, like you're the father, you know, you gotta show that you're strong. You gotta have the heart of a lion. That's what he told me. Then like from there I was like, you know, I don't know, but I see my father as a big example, you know, like an example of life. He was my age, like when he came to Italy alone to better his life. He got arrested. He got, you know, you know, coming here was very rough. Like he ain't never booked a first class ticket to come here, you know, like business class. So he struggled, and it ain't been easy, man. But I never seen him cry, man, never. And then after he told me, he gave me that speech, and I was like, I'm not a crybaby. I want to be strong like you. Do you know what I'm saying? I want to be strong like you because I see you as an example, man. So ever since that, I literally never cried, like, till now. I don't remember last time crying. And even though, like, you might have some problems, you might be overstressed, it's very hard for me, like, you know, to shed a tear. But I don't think it's because I don't know. Don't know the reason, but it's very like hard for me to shed a tear because I feel like I gotta be strong no matter what, you know. Like, obviously I can fall down, and I'm not saying that I don't feel hurt at times, but what I'm saying is I don't usually like create the time to, like, you know, cry on the situation. I just gotta. My dad always say, you gotta find a solution, man. You gotta find a solution. Like, you gotta understand the problem and then find the solution. So I don't have like the space and time to be crying over stuff, and I haven't done that in a while. I know it's healthy. People tell me like, yo, you gotta cry, like you gotta shed a tear, and I'm like, yeah, no, but I don't like, I don't have it, you know.
So, what do you do with it then? Where does all that pain go?
I venture into different activities. So, for example, I try to keep myself as busy as possible. I've always been a busy guy. Even when I was in middle school, high school, had training 4 or 5 times a week, played the flute, the bass guitar, the drums, did all sorts of things, gaming clubs, coding, you know. So I've always been a busy guy, and that helps me keep my mind off things. Also, learning new things actually is like a coping mechanism, probably. And
So, do you feel like because do you feel like you just suppress and almost just like distract yourself from it? You don't actually give yourself the space to cry?
yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know what I tend to do. It's like I have like a cabinet in my brain, or like a drawer, and that's where I put all the bad stuff, you know. And then I'm like, yo, all the bad stuff's back there. I want to open it, but what I want to do is I'm gonna keep like the cabinet or the drawer there, because it's not good to delete the bad moments, because I feel like the bad moments help you also to grow. But I'm not just gonna be there like sitting and, you know, reminiscing about it, because I don't want to think about it. And I I thank God I have a lot of good memories. You know, I'm a very good chill vibe person. I have a lot of good memories, and I value special moments more than obviously I value or reminisce about bad moments. Um,
So how do you feel that you weren't able to cry? Like how does it feel that your dad told you this? Because in some way it is loss of that safety from,
yeah.
that emotional safety. It's kind of like a loss.
Yeah, I mean, it is. But do you know how I feel? I feel like I feel like my dad, man. I feel strong. I don't know. Like I feel like I know if it gets to a point where I eventually like break down, I know that I'm not alone though. That it means that obviously I think my father obviously had some moments where he broke down, but he never maybe showed it to us like visually. But if it had to happen, I'd be like, I wouldn't be like, yo, I failed you, dad. I'd be like, yo, I needed this time. If I broke down, it means that it was way too heavy on me. So I'm gonna just take this time. I'm gonna just take this time for myself, this safe space, and I know that my dad's gonna be there regardless. If I talk to him, he's gonna understand me because he knows what it means, to keep things inside. So for me, like, if it's like to show emotion, he's gonna be like, you did great, kid. You know what I'm saying? And he's definitely gonna be like, you did great, kid. You know what I'm saying? He always tells me like everything I wanted in life, I was, able to achieve it. He knows that I'm I'm not that weak. He knows that I'm able to, do stuff, that whatever I want. So
So do you believe that crying is weakness?
Um, I might say in a sense, like yes, because why do you cry? Because you feel emptiness. Yeah, you cry also because of joy, but we're talking about crying because of sadness, right? So you cry when something breaks. You know what I'm saying? So when something breaks, it means that it's fragile. You know what I'm saying? In a sort of way. You don't agree with that?
I think it's very interesting. Perspective is everything.
Yeah.
I think it's tricky when other people's perspectives get put onto us
Yeah.
because this is what you were taught
Yeah.
to believe. And crying is a form of release
Yeah,
at
it
the end of
is.
the day.
It is. It is. It is. But
So,
yeah. But I'm saying like, it's good to cry. Like, it's definitely very important to cry. And what I'm saying is like, crying is very fundamental. That everybody should grieve and cry in their own way. Like everybody has their own. How am I saying the breaking point? You know what I'm saying? So. Some people cry for different reasons and stuff like that. But what I was taught, is that as a firstborn and everything, you gotta show that type of strength. So yeah, I'm gonna say like, I'm not saying that crying is weakness. What I'm saying like, crying is definitely a way of showing emotion, and everybody should be showing emotion. Crying is definitely helpful. And it all depends, like how you said, like how you're brought up, how you were, thought about this thing. And if I had like a kid, probably like I wouldn't tell him like not to cry. You know what I'm saying? What I would tell him is like, be strong, definitely. Like, don't let things, you know, break you down. Like always, let things break you down, but remember you always gotta rise up again. Like never lay down, lay low. Just always keep your head up, cause.
so what is strength to you?
know, strength can be, you can have like mental strength, physical strength, emotional strength. I don't think I have a definition of strength myself. I feel like strength is very difficult to describe. Because how would you describe strength? You feel me? Like, what would you say, who would you say is someone strong? You know?
Someone that cries.
Someone that cries. Someone that shows emotion is someone strong.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's scary. It's scarier to show something that is genuinely like at your core,
Yeah.
which quote unquote could be weakness. That's scary. And whatever is scary in life that we go for, that's strength.
Yeah.
So when you go through loss, whether that be loss of emotion, loss of death, loss, love, heartbreak, but you go after it again, that's strength.
Yeah.
Because you're picking yourself up to go after it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think strength can be measured in the amount of times you stand up after falling down. You know what I'm saying? So it can be physical, mental, emotional, but as long as you continue to stand up, even knowing that, you might fall back again, I think that's pure strength.
What's that famous Rocky line? That's one of my favorites. No matter how hard you get hit, what is it?
No matter how, oh yeah,
Doesn't matter how hard you get hit. What matters
is how, I remember that line, man.
is how hard you get up.
But ASAP stands for always strive and prosper, regardless. Like,
Have you ever been through heartbreak?
heartbreak?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like serious heartbreak, nah. Because, I mean, like, you mean like love, relationship type of heartbreak? Nah.
And friendship?
Yeah, but I had this friend in high school, we were very close. Man, we used to like hang out like most of the time, man, during high school. And we had this very like special kind of relationship. And it was crazy because like I was like, we just met, like you've been with me like through the whole high school, and we've been like, she knows me very well, I know her very well. And but the thing is, when I went to uni, we literally lost contact, like out of the blue. And people used to tell me like, yo, it's normal because, people grow, relationships, change, obviously. And like, it's okay if, she goes on her road, I go on my road and stuff. But I was like, this can't be, man. Like, we used to like spend a lot of time together, man. I don't think because of my career path, we should just, disappear from each other's lives, And then I remember I tried reaching out to her, and then she was like, listen, it's been a long time. I don't know if I can do this because we haven't spoken in a while. And I'm sorry for everything. I got my own life now, but I'll be glad anytime to see you regardless. And I was like, damn. That's it, man. But you know what? Like, I understand, I'm not mad on anything. I just understand, like, that's cool.
Do you think about it from time to time?
Yeah, I do. I think of mostly like some of the people like I met in the past, and I was actually reasoning the fact that there's a lot of people that I met and that were part of my life that suddenly are very like outside of my life right now. It's just kind of like, wow. I don't know if it's because we're growing actually, and the activities we are doing are different from each other, which is natural at some point. But it's the fact that during that time, how deep the connections where the relationship was, and then all of a sudden, like, everything just disappears. So that makes me think, like, what are relationships based on? Friends, girlfriends, boyfriends. What are they based on? Are they based on like activities that we share in common? Are they based off of what we see within each other as people, person? Because there's a lot of, I don't know if it happened to you, but it's a lot of people that used to do a lot of stuff together, and all of a sudden, like, they just disappear.
Yeah.
Or the relationship just, turns out to be less of what it was before.
Some of my major heartbreaks were friends
Yeah.
that either ghosted me or
Yeah.
it was actually my first heartbreak when I was younger, and it was my first loss, if you could say, because it is loss.
Yeah, it is.
And it is a form of grieving that you need to go through. That's why I asked if you still think about it, because it's interesting if you've grieved or processed that loss.
Yeah, I have, but as I said, like, it's more of like me understanding rather than getting mad, Because at the end of the day, it comes to a point where you're just like, it is what it is. It is what it is, man.
And going back to faith, that's grace. Giving people the grace to just be them and to not have expectations.
Yeah. As long as you're you and I accept you for who you are, that's all I can do.
So if you could cry right now, just for you, what would it be for?
If I could cry right now,
For yourself. If you could give yourself the space, or if you could give your 12-year-old self that space to cry, what would it be for? Like if he was talking to you now, 12-year-old Fortune.
yeah, little nigga, man.
What would he say?
What would he say? He's definitely gonna ask me like, how are the next 10 couple years gonna be?
But about crying?
And if I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna tell him like, no, but if you had to cry, maybe cry for being grateful, you know what I'm saying? For everything, like look back at what you've been through, Think about all the lows, like have a time, think about all the lows, then look at yourself and think about where you at, Because I think that also this hunger of making it makes you forget, or better, makes you take for granted what you've done, what you've achieved, because you overlook it and you think you always want more. So you overlook, your micro success. And if I had to tell young me, if I had to give him a space to cry, I'll tell him, look, you reach my age, take a time, look back, think about all you've been through with your family and everything, personal life, and think about where you are at right now. And then do you decide whether you're gonna cry, for being grateful, or whether you're gonna cry because you feel like during this time your emotions were all locked up during this journey. So
with your emotions being locked up,
yeah.
you saying you shouldn't cry?
No. If my emotions, I think it's obviously better to, showcase your emotion and not locking them up, because that builds, inner grief, but that you're not ready to accept though. So it just builds up, and then it comes to a point where, you have like, I say like this stomach ache, because you have built up all these strong emotions and you don't know what to do with it, because you don't want to cry. and then you all keep it in, and that translates in your way of behaving then, you know what I'm saying? Because you're not gonna cry, but people are gonna start feeling a little bit odd from your vibe, the vibe you're giving off. You know, it's like, is everything all right? And you're gonna be like, no, I'm fine, I'm cool. But inside, you know, you're not cool. So I think, you know, releasing these type of emotions helps you to maintain a great balance between, obviously, you know, highs and lows. And I really recommend men especially to be doing that, to not be afraid to express your feelings, never be afraid to show emotion, never be afraid to cry, because when it all gets up to your head and you don't want to accept that, you don't want to cry, you don't want to show it to nobody, at least give yourself some space and take it all out so that you can restart fresh. You know what I'm saying? That's all.